The Vena family lived a quiet, happy life in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. They had come to America seeking opportunity, stability, and safety. Their home was filled with warmth, laughter, and the smells of home-cooked meals. Every morning Satyavati Vena, the grandmother, would hum softly as she prepared breakfast, while her son Venkata and daughter-in-law Latha doted on their baby girl Sanvi. Neighbors often spoke of the Vena family's kindness. They welcomed everyone, always ready to help with a smile or a plate of food. The local Indian community admired their generosity and close-knit bonds. Their apartment was a gathering place for festivals, celebrations, and quiet evenings spent sharing stories. For the Venas, life felt safe, predictable, and full of promise. Little Sanvi, just 10 months old, was the pride and joy of the family. Her giggles echoed through the halls, bringing happiness to all who heard them. Satyavati's gentle touch and watchful eye made sure Sanvi was always safe, always loved. The family dreamed of a bright future, never imagining the darkness that would soon descend. This was a family woven tightly together, surrounded by friends, neighbors, and a sense of belonging. But even in the most tranquil places, danger can hide just out of sight, waiting for the right moment to strike. Among the Vena's friends was Raghunandan Yandamuri. He was a familiar face in their apartment building, a young man from India, living with his wife, working in the tech industry. To the Venas, he was more than a neighbor. He was a friend, someone they trusted, someone who shared their culture and language. He attended their gatherings, laughed at their jokes, and even held baby Sanvi in his arms. Yandamuri seemed friendly and polite. He often brought small gifts or stopped by to chat. The Venas never suspected he harbored secret struggles. In the community, he was seen as a hard worker, a man making his way in a new country. He fit in well, blending into the fabric of daily life, never drawing unwanted attention. It's easy to trust those who share your language and traditions. The Venas saw Yandamuri as one of their own. There was no reason to doubt his intentions. He was invited into their home, treated like family, and given the benefit of the doubt in every interaction. But sometimes the greatest threats come from those closest to us. The people we let into our lives can surprise us in ways we never expect. Behind Yandamuri's calm smile, a storm was brewing, one that would soon shatter the peace of the Vena family forever. Raghunandan Yandamuri's life was not as perfect as it seemed. Beneath his polite exterior, he was struggling. He had developed a gambling habit. Trips to casinos, secret bets, and mounting debts began to haunt him. The money he earned at his job was never enough. The pressure grew, and soon he found himself desperate. Yandamuri owed thousands of dollars. Creditors were calling, his paychecks disappeared quickly, and his marriage was strained by financial stress. He tried to hide his problems from friends and family, but the burden weighed heavily on him. In his mind, he needed a quick solution, anything to make the fear and anxiety stop. It was then that a terrible idea took root. Yandamuri knew the Venas were well-liked and successful. He believed they might have money, perhaps enough to solve his problems. He convinced himself that if he could just get some cash, just this once, he could fix everything. Desperation clouded his judgment, making him believe the unthinkable was possible. Instead of asking for help, he made a plan. He would kidnap baby Sanvi and demand a ransom from her parents. In his mind, it was a victimless crime. He would return the child unharmed, collect the money, and disappear. But real life rarely follows such neat plans. The choices Yandamuri made would lead to tragedy, forever changing the lives of everyone he touched. October 22, 2012, began like any other day for the Vena family. Satyavati was caring for Sanvi while her son and daughter-in-law went to work. The apartment was quiet, filled with the gentle sounds of a grandmother singing to her granddaughter, but outside, Raghunandan Yandamuri was preparing to carry out his plan. He entered the Venas' apartment, knowing Satyavati would be home. Yandamuri confronted her, demanding to know where the money was kept. Satyavati, frightened and confused, struggled with him. In the chaos, Yandamuri panicked. He stabbed Satyavati, killing her in a desperate attempt to silence her. The violence was sudden, shocking, and irreversible. With Satyavati gone, Yandamuri turned to Sanvi. He grabbed the baby, wrapped her in a towel, and left the apartment. His goal was to use her as leverage for ransom. But Sanvi, helpless and terrified, began to cry. In his frantic attempt to keep her quiet, Yandamuri accidentally suffocated her. The plan had gone horribly wrong, leaving 2 innocent lives lost. By the end of the day, the Vena family's world had been destroyed. Satyavati was dead. Sanvi was missing. The apartment, once full of laughter, now echoed with silence and grief. The tragedy had only just begun. The discovery was immediate and devastating. Venkata and Latha returned home to find Satyavati's lifeless body. The horror was compounded by the realization that their baby girl was missing. Panic swept through the apartment complex as news spread. Friends, neighbors, and strangers rallied together, clinging to hope that Sanvi could be found alive. Police arrived quickly, sealing off the crime scene and beginning their search. The community mobilized, printing flyers, organizing search parties, and sharing Sanvi's photo across social media. Candlelight vigils were held, prayers were whispered, and tears were shed. The pain was raw, the fear palpable. No one could understand who would commit such a crime. The search for Sanvi became a race against time. Local news stations carried the story, urging anyone with information to come forward. The Vena family, shattered by grief, pleaded for their daughter's safe return. The entire community waited, breathless, hoping for a miracle that would never come. Days passed, and hope began to fade. But the search for answers had only just begun. Investigators worked around the clock, determined to find the truth and bring Sanvi home no matter the cost. Section 6. The Investigation, Unraveling the Truth. Detectives moved quickly, piecing together the events of that terrible day. They searched for clues in the Vena apartment, interviewing neighbors and friends. Suspicion soon fell on Raghunandan Yandamuri. He had attended the Venice's gatherings, knew their routines, and had been seen near the apartment on the day of the crime. Evidence began to mount. Police discovered ransom notes left in the apartment, written in awkward English and containing details only someone close to the family would know. Surveillance cameras caught glimpses of Yandamuri's movements. When questioned, his story shifted, raising further doubts. Investigators noticed inconsistencies in his alibi. Eventually, the pressure was too much. Yandamuri confessed. He described how he entered the apartment, struggled with Satyavati, and accidentally killed Sanvi during the kidnapping. He led police to the location where he had hidden Sanvi's body, inside a basement boiler room, just feet from where searchers had looked before. The truth was out. The heartbreak was complete. With the confession and overwhelming evidence, investigators had their suspect. The community, once united in hope, now faced the painful reality of betrayal from within. Section 7. The Trial Justice in the Courtroom. The trial of Raghunandan Yandamuri was watched closely across Pennsylvania and around the world. Prosecutors presented a mountain of evidence: the ransom notes, surveillance footage, Yandamuri's own confession, and forensic proof tying him to the crime. The defense struggled to counter the facts, claiming the deaths were accidental, not premeditated. Yandamuri took the stand in his own defense. He tried to explain his actions, insisting he never meant to kill anyone, but the jury was unmoved. The brutality of the crime, the betrayal of trust, and the loss of two innocent lives weighed heavily on everyone in the courtroom. The Vena family sat through every testimony, their grief visible for all to see. After days of testimony, the verdict was clear. Yandamuri was found guilty on all counts: murder, kidnapping, and related charges. The judge delivered the sentence: death. It was a historic decision. Yandamuri became the first Indian citizen sentenced to death in the United States. Justice had been served, but the wounds left behind would never fully heal. The trial ended, but the echoes of betrayal and loss lingered. For the Vena family and their community, nothing would ever be the same. Section 8. The Deepest Cut Betrayal and Community Sorrow. The crime sent shockwaves through the local Indian community and beyond. Friends struggled to process the truth. Someone they trusted, someone who shared their meals and laughter, had caused unimaginable pain. The sense of safety that once defined the neighborhood was shattered, replaced by suspicion and sorrow. The Vena family was left to mourn not just the loss of Satyavati and Sanvi, but the loss of innocence. Their home, once filled with love, became a place of memories and grief. The community rallied to support them, offering prayers, meals, and shoulders to cry on. But the pain was deep, and the questions lingered. How could this have happened? How could someone so close betray them so completely? The story drew national attention, sparking conversations about trust, community, and hidden dangers. For many, it was a wake-up call, a reminder that evil can wear a familiar face. The tragedy served as a stark warning. Sometimes the greatest threats come from those we welcome into our lives. Healing would take time. The scars, both seen and unseen, would last a lifetime. But the Vena family's strength and the community's compassion offered hope that they could one day find peace. Section 9. Lessons Learned, Trust, Danger, and Moving Forward. The story of the Vena family and Raghunandan Yandamuri is a painful lesson about trust and betrayal. It reminds us that danger does not always come from strangers lurking in the shadows. Sometimes it comes from those we know, those we welcome into our homes, those we call friends. Communities across Pennsylvania and the world took notice. Parents held their children tighter. Neighbors looked at each other with new caution. The tragedy forced many to reevaluate what it means to trust and how to protect those we love. The Vena family's loss became a lesson for all. Vigilance is necessary, even in the safest places. Yet, amidst the pain, there was also resilience. The outpouring of support showed the best of humanity, a community coming together to face the worst of times. The Vena family's courage in the face of unimaginable pain inspired many to cherish their loved ones and to value every moment. As life moves forward, the memory of Satyavati and Sanvi lives on. Their story is a warning, a reminder, and a call for compassion. In the end, the greatest legacy may be the lesson that trust must be earned, and that love, even when tested by tragedy, can help us heal.